can't control the mind with the mind. So what I'm trying to address in this video is those sort of states of mind that we can easily get into when we're feeling depressed or anxious, where the mind sort of snowballs. And this especially happens, well, with depression and anxiety, and I've experienced it myself many times. But one small thing will happen, and then in your brain it's like, oh, that's going to lead to this, and then that's going to lead to this, and after 2 or 3 minutes it's leading to the end of the world, and then you're thinking about some very dark things. I've discovered some things that work to prevent this, these states of mind, and if you're just interested in that list, then they're going to be at the end of the video and you can skip forward. I'll put some timestamps in, but I suggest you watch the whole thing, because I'm going to talk about sort of why these states of mind occur, how it happens, and I'm going to go into a bit of the sort of biology of it all, which, you know, some people might not be interested in that, but if you are, stick around. So when we're really stressed or in a panicked, anxious or sleepy or exhausted state, so all of those above, so our thoughts can begin to snowball, you know, so like I just said, you know, one thing leads to another, leads to another, blah, blah. End of the world, right? We've also kind of called this tunnel vision thinking, okay? So when we're in a negative mindset, there's no way to think yourself out of it. You know, you can't do some kind of mental acrobatics to get yourself to be thinking positively. You know, whatever you come up with in your mind, it's like, oh yeah, but no, I did this today and that was really good. Your brain's going to come up with an answer to why things are still bad, and, you know, the current train of thought and why that's right. So you can't think yourself out of those kind of states. This sort of state of mind, you know, this tunnel vision, snowball thinking, they're very related to the autonomic nervous system, which is, as it sounds, it's like the automatic stuff that goes on in your body. And so the autonomic nervous system is involved both with the brain and the body, right? Which is fantastic, because it means that we can influence the body to control the mind, and we'll get into that later. So yeah, so we can use physical actions to shift where we are on this scale of stressed to relaxed within sort of the autonomic nervous system. Once we start to take these actions, it's going to start to shift our states of mind when it comes to the type of thoughts we have, or, you know, the actions that we're capable of doing, all that kind of stuff. So moving is being able to move ourselves from the stressed end of this scale to the relaxed is a very valuable skill, and I think it's, and like I said, these things that I've discovered, they do work. So I really recommend you try them. So when we're very stressed or upset, you know, when we're in these kind of situations, there are two things that happen. So the first is, we can't take our focus off the things or the feeling that's upset us. You know, whatever's going on, our focus is just pinpointed on that, you know. Can't see anything else around here, it's just, you know. So in these states of mind, it often feels like, you know, this kind of snowball, this depression, this anxiety, whatever you want to call it, it's never ending and it's going to go on forever. So just to be able to tell yourself when you're in that situation that it's going to end, like, I've had a couple of panic attacks before, not anything severe, but I got into the habit of, as soon as one would come on, it just like, okay, don't worry about it, this one will be, you know, it'll be over, it's not going to last forever. So even just knowing that and being able to tell yourself that is an incredibly valuable tool. So once we've then done some activities that are going to shift us on the scale of being stressed to relaxed, it's only then that we can take a step back and go, oh, of course this isn't going to go on forever, you know, forever, that kind of stuff. And once you've kind of experienced that shift from, oh, this isn't going to go on forever, you can really kind of see that when we're in these states, like your mind, your brain, the way that you're going to be thinking, the thought patterns, they're not helpful to you. They're just going to make things worse. It's kind of very negative. And just being able to recognize that these things are not helpful is quite useful. So stress, anxiety and fear, they all involve high alertness or high awareness sort of states, whether that be about our environment or our own thoughts. So you know that your heart rate's going to increase, your body's getting ready for action, there'll be some adrenaline, you'll maybe start shaking or whatever. Which, as it turns out, if you are like really anxious or you've got some adrenaline, when you start to shake, that's actually kind of a result of trying to stay still. You know, the body is preparing itself to move, it's preparing itself for action when we're in these states. But because we're sitting still, we start to shake because we're not letting the body take action, if you like. So if that kind of thing happens when you get shaky, just go for a walk, take a run, do some physical activities, which because they can really help with that kind of situation. So I said about the sort of tunnel vision thinking earlier, and this is really interesting. When we're in these stress, anxiety, fear states or whatever, the eyes actually become wider, and because of the way that sort of light works and apertures and all that kind of stuff, it actually means that you see less. So not only are you kind of like mentally tunnel visioned, you are physically as well, because you're trying to pinpoint and focus on exactly one thing. You know, it's like, think of it like if you were aiming down a gun or something, the only thing that's in focus is the sights or the target. You don't really see anything that's going on around you, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. So as we get more stressed or anxious, it becomes a lot harder to do the things that are going to get us out of that state, because we're just going to get more tunnel visioned. So anything outside of that is going to be harder to, you know, pick up and perceive and therefore act on. So we need to really catch ourselves as soon as we can when this sort of type of thinking occurs. So as soon as we go, oh, hang on a minute, you know, I'm getting into this tunnel vision or snowbally thought patterns or whatever. As soon as you can recognize that, the sooner you can recognize that, the easier it's going to be to deal with it. And then you can take action that's going to calm us down, and then we'll get back to a sort of good baseline. These are the things that I do when I've been in these states, and that really do help. So the first is the Wim Hof breathing, which is it's like full exhales, full inhales, full exhales. It's quite fast paced. It's like, you know, that kind of thing. You do like 30 breaths, and then you hold your breath, and then, you know, you do some bits. I highly recommend you look into this, because it was one of the things that got me out of depression. It was one of the few reasons I was able to do it sort of as well as I could and manage it. Anyway, so when you do get the kind of Wim Hof breathing and you're holding your breath, you can, first of all, it's amazing because you can go for like 2 minutes, but like your mind kind of shuts off. And there's one of the things he says in like his guided session, which is like, you know, we go into just being, and it really is just kind of that. So that's very useful. The other thing is physical exercise or movement. So getting a quick workout in, just doing a few push-ups or sit-ups, you know, whatever kind of exercise you want to do, go for that. But do, you know, become active, do some movement. Like I said earlier with the shaking thing, it's the same kind of idea. We've got all this energy going around in the body, got all this adrenaline, you know, got more blood flow, the heart's going. Use it, okay? So the next two I think are kind of related. So I found this on my own, was that like singing, just kind of putting on some music that I liked and singing along to it. That would take my mind off a lot of stuff, and it felt good too. But also I've discovered that like if you hum in a low tone, so that you can kind of feel the back of your throat vibrating, this is going to stimulate the vagus nerve. I think that's how you pronounce it, and that's going to result in us calming down. You know, look into the vagus nerve if you want. So singing's just singing, but I tend to like, well, the songs I tend to sing are kind of like more low pitched stuff anyway. So I think there's a bit of overlap there. But anyway, singing works and humming, so just like and really kind of like getting that kind of vibration within the throat. And so you do say 5 to 10 sort of deep breaths with this humming type thing. So cold showers are absolutely amazing. You want to aim for the kind of cold shock where you're going and you're like, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's very uncomfortable because it's a cold shower. But when you're in there, there's no room for any kind of negative thoughts or anything else. This is a part of the Wim Hof method as well, which again, very worth looking at. So yeah, so tips for the cold shower and like dealing with that kind of, because you do want to be aiming for this like when you get in there. So what you want to kind of do is control your breathing. So just take deep controlled breaths, but exhale more than you inhale, kind of things. So like and then you'll get in there, you're like, you know, you take that deep cold shock breath, and then you're like, you know, so just basically control the breath, and before you know it, you'll be pretty comfortable in cold showers. But you know, just start small. You don't have to have a full cold shower. Just do 20 seconds, all right, at the end of the shower, something like that. So then there's box breathing, which is quite simple. It's you sort of breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 5 seconds. I personally don't find this one too useful, but it has worked in the past, but it's on this list anyway because I know a lot of people recommend this. So this is another one that sort of stimulates the vagus nerve, just kind of calm us down and move us on that scale of the autonomic nervous system from stress to relaxed. And that is to do a bit of an ear massage. Right, now this sounds weird, but basically you want to take your thumb and finger like this, and then sort of pinch your ear kind of like that, and then just do circular motions like back and forth, that kind of thing. Like, try it now. It's kind of a weird one, but like, it actually does work. It's very strange. Just keep this in mind, and if you are struggling with any kind of anxiety or depression, then it will pass. You know, don't fall for the tunnel vision. It will pass. You will get through this, and start small. So remember, ideas without action are worthless. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more coming soon. It's a win-win for both of us.